I was owed a Kennedy yesterday. I was actually owed that Kennedy yesterday. Why? Because I had earned it the year before. I did the accounting. I got it right here. 330 is exactly equivalent. I was owed that Kennedy. And if you'd given him to me, we would have a very different situation right now. Why? Because if you had decided that that was supposed to be an applicable compensation, restitution, reparation, both could have been met and there would be something else. But you only want the budget to reflect one side. Because in order for there to be able to be the understanding of an acknowledgement of the other side, we'd need to actually deal honestly with that 850 as well, which I could do if I wasn't bifurcated between two parties that are in a common conspiracy that just use factional differences in order to appear to be in some sort of conflict in order to increase the leverageability, right? That's what you just told me. I just did the accounting here. Right here. I got it right here. You owed me that Kennedy yesterday. You're the ones that set the scheme. That Kennedy was mine. That vice president, that executive from Raytheon Corporation that was set to step down yesterday was mine. Now, I would have prosecuted him. I would have taken him. I would have liquidated his earnings, his severance package, as part of what would have been put into an escrow that was going to be used to prosecute. But you don't want that. What did you want instead? Did you want to follow through on contracts you had already set up with them, including in connection with non-disclosure agreements or waivers of liability? And so the other thing, what's that supposed to be? Insurance? So did you just liquidate that in order to recirculate it to pay off all of the people you expect to keep their mouths shut while you continue to genetically engineer, harvest, extract, and otherwise screw with people's lives in order to make more weapons? I mean, if they get the weapons, who are they supposed to use them on? I would have used them on Kennedy. I would have used my own weapons that I made, including my Second Amendment arguments, on him directly, in person, literally, me. I would have done it myself. I would have looked him in the fucking face while I did it. I would have looked his lawyers in the face. I would have looked everybody on the board with him on the face. I would have looked all of his buddies in government, past, present, and, well, it won't be a future by the time I'm done with him, right? I would have done it myself, and I would have paid for it. And I would have paid to get you what you needed. See, on one level, I'm supposed to believe what you need is some product line connected to chips, enhancements, I don't know, right? And the budget's here for that. But what was the cost? We didn't get the vaccine task force. We didn't get the reconciliation of acts of mail fraud, including acts of mail fraud that, had they been addressed in June of last year, would not have compounded the situation we got coming up. See, we've got a lot of mail fraud that didn't get handled coming up, beginning and the end of July, when they started filing those cases with the Supreme Court of Texas. And I imagine they did it in other states too, right? When they started filing cases contesting people's efforts to run in an election when there was the COVID-19 situation ongoing. And then all of the evidence I got right here. Do you have any idea how much fun I'm going to have? See, they didn't need to be weapons. They could have been evidence. But you didn't give me my Kennedy yesterday, so what am I supposed to do with them? If I don't use them, somebody else might, right? And you want me to believe that it was okay for you to do whatever you just did to provide insurance for people who also intend to use those things as weapons when the dates come up. Year and a day. Are you impressed? Are you impressed? Are you impressed with what the evidence reveals today? Who you took out? And the truth of the matter is, both of them could have come due. But I have a voice file that I think would have been more in line with what would happen if you would have let me prosecute pension fraud connected to Michael Flynn. But you didn't do that either. So what are you planning to do with those 3 people that owe a debt to society. I would have done something different. You know, it's exactly the kind of thing I wanted to do in March of 2017 when we weren't criminals. But presumably, a lot of women who were indigenous or had an indigenous background that was acknowledged and recognized were being used for weapons testing, including weapons connected to what you guys just got paid for today. Right? And how many of them have their own house in their own name? How many of them have their own house in their own name right now? Or did you intentionally create and fabricate them as distressed assets, even though there wasn't a market for distressed assets until you created nothing else but distressed assets? You owed me a Kennedy yesterday. And if I'd gotten my Kennedy, a lot of people would have gotten a lot of things they needed today. But what do we have instead? Well, we have some taxes that didn't get paid, and some that did. We also have confirmation on what would have been a capacity to have followed through on honoring obligations that could potentially have been incurred by agreeing to proceed in accordance with an already existing international treaty. We could have taken care of the inside as well as the outside. But I didn't get my Kennedy yesterday. Did I? I did not. And so you're not getting your Kraus today. I think that's the way that this goes. Whatever you thought was the rate of exchange you were going to be working with, it's not going to be backed up the way you had hoped, because some things did not get done correctly. Numbers are all here. This is what we had to work with. You keep doing the same thing over and over again. If I'm honest and do what you said was my role, what I was supposed to do, while you needed the financing, I needed something too, right?